Hello and welcome to the Aircraft Global Market Update. It's Friday, September 15th, 2023, and we have some records broken today. If you like these videos, please comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share them with people. We're trying to create a cooperative of pilots and business owners and aircraft owners to come together and give us the much needed data and information that doesn't exist in the aviation market for aircraft. There's no transparency like in real estate. We're trying to create it. So we need to hear from you. And that way we can get your data inserted into these videos and we can help other buyers make informed decisions and hopefully find the correct value, the marketable value for their aircraft, and not what brokers and sales websites would have you believe aircraft are worth. We're going to start with news and overall sentiment. We're pretty much going to skip news this week, mostly because not much has changed. The only thing that has really changed is we've got higher fuel prices because the Saudis and Russia have kind of colluded together to say, hey, we're going to raise prices. And of course, the United States made a terrible decision under this administration to eliminate our own self-reliance and self-sufficiency on oil and become dependent on foreign nations. And so you reap what you sow. Now we are forced to pay foreign governments more money for our oil, send that money out of the country. We're still going to need oil for a very long time. Electrical technology is not there yet, probably won't be for a very long time. Our infrastructure can't handle it. And so now we are left holding the bag. On top of that, our strategic petroleum reserve in the United States is near an all-time low, at least back to 1985. And just as of July 21st, 2023, we have about 17 days of oil at any one time. And what that means is if supply is interrupted by any of these foreign nations for 17 days, we will run out of oil at the gas pumps. Kind of concerning. So consider airlines, consider airplanes. Fuel prices are going to go up all around the board. And then you can kind of hypothetically come with a scenario. Well, if we do get into supply disruptions and rationing, who's going to get the fuel first? Probably cargo transit, freight liners, railroads, trucks, and large cargo aircraft, and maybe then airlines, and maybe then cars after that. So yeah, not a great place to be in, but all of the other news is the same. The economy is kind of slowing down, housing market slowing down, aircraft market is slowing down, interest rates are really high, pilot shortage, mechanic shortage, nothing's really changed. But what has changed, as I want to point out, is we do have some records broken. 4,752 aircraft for sale on controller, the highest I personally have ever seen it. And I've been watching controller for a very long time. I think that we have a major stagnancy in the market. Aircraft are not moving right now. I don't think buyers are necessarily hurting to sell, which is why prices are staying artificially high. And I don't believe the aircraft are valued at what people are trying to currently sell it for. And that's the purpose of these videos, to try to, again, gather a cooperative, intelligent group of owner pilots and corporate pilots and business owners, try to consolidate, cooperate information together and find out what the value, the true values, what are people really paying and willing to pay for aircraft. We'll start off with our list here. 172s, did we really sell some, or did listings just expire? 14 down to 11. Cessna 182 staying the same now. No 182Ts sold in over a month. And, you know, that used to be quite a commodity, but now they're $500,000 aircraft. They're not moving like they used to. Look at this. We are now up to 299 Cirrus SR-22s. You know, it's a great aircraft, but they made so many of these. And so I don't, where are we going to find 300 buyers for Cirruses? I'm sorry if you own a Cirrus and you're trying to sell it. If you don't plan on selling it, great. Fly that thing into the ground, metaphorically speaking, of course. I mean, fly it for a very long term until it doesn't work anymore and everything needs overhaul, because the chances of selling it right now are probably pretty slim. Cessna TTXs, may have had an expired listing here, or maybe we have one sale, but basically holding strong at about 10, 9. Piper Meridians, we got a couple more on the market. TBMs, not a single one sold so far this month, and maybe one sold, maybe an expired listing, but otherwise holding at 46. Moving into helicopters, we've got several more R44s on the market, or maybe just a renewal of previously expired listings. Robinson 66 is 42 to 38. Did we really sell 4 of them, or are we just talking about expired listings here? These have been sitting on the market for a while, and so maybe we will see this pop back up next week, or maybe we actually had some sales. If you recently bought or sold an R66, please let us know. 14 to 17 on 505s. Bell 407s up to 22 now. This is a very hot market. 407s kind of always move, and some of the older ones will sit for a while. So I don't necessarily see any major issues with health in that market, but 22 still a lot of helicopters. 109s, those are just not moving. The 109s that are on the market are the same ones that have been on the market. There are quite a few of them right now throughout the world. Bell 429s, kind of thin, not a very large market. These tend to sell pretty quickly when they're reasonably priced. And that's probably why we only have 7 of them on the market. Now, the Vision Jet, we are all the way down to 31. Did we really sell 10 aircraft? 10 $3 million single engine jets? I don't know. Or did we have some expired listings? Maybe a combination of both. But maybe that market's moving a little bit. Still, 30 jets is a lot. So wouldn't want to be holding one of those right now either. Probably difficult to sell unless well underpriced. Citation Mustangs holding strong right around 17 or 18. We're back up to 17 now. Phenom 100s holding strong in the mid-20s. Honda Jet, we have not sold one in months. We just keep adding inventory. No one wants to buy a Honda Jet. That's tough. I would not want to own a Honda Jet right now. If you're in the market for one, have bought one or sold one in some sort of recent history, maybe this year, let us know so we can get some data on it. It's a really hard one to find data on. Citation M2 back up to 19 on the market. And we did see some of the ones that expired from back here come back on. So we also, I think, saw a sale or two, but we also saw some expired listings come back. So big inventory on the M2s right now, and similar story, not a lot of deals to be had. Citation CJ3, we did see one move, and it was one of the more better priced ones that we had seen. We'll go over that later in the video, but we are down to 12 CJ3s now. Unless that was an expired listing, we might see it pop on, but it was reasonably priced. I'm going to believe that maybe it's sold. CJ4s down to 14. Maybe they're expired listings, maybe sold. We think that perhaps they're just expired listings, but we'll see. Some of the higher priced ones that aren't on there this week. And then the Phenom 300 holding strong right around 20, but it is the lowest number we've seen yet. And what's left in this market is just, in our humble opinion, not great. You know, it is slim pickings, really high valued, really old, really heavily used. Not something we would be in the market for, or necessarily want you to be in the market for. So, and yet they're asking astronomical prices. So those prices need to come down, but 4,752, as I mentioned, record broken from what we've seen. And I don't necessarily believe or trust these graphs too much, but we're going to put them up here anyway. It shows Vision Jets actually being sold, or the market moving down in inventory. Phenom 100, same thing. Honda Jet holding. Phenom 300 coming down a little bit. Citation M2 climbing back up. Again, with expired listings and no transparency, it's hard to figure this out. We really need data, hopefully, as we increase in viewers over time. Helicopter inventory, Raven 2's jumping up, and Robinson R66 is steadily moving down. Are we really moving 10 R66s in a month? Or are people just like, you know what, I'll just keep it. No one wants it. There's like nearly 40 of these on the market right now. You know, look, I've looked at the prices. None of these are super well priced. So part of me just believes that a lot of these are expired listings. Bell 407's ticking up a little bit. And as we mentioned, everything else kind of holding strong. And then the single engine inventory, my gosh. I mean, the SR22s just distort this graph so much from everything else. I don't even consider these healthy numbers, you know, like when you have 46 aircraft on the market that's over $1 million, or 36 aircraft that's over $1 million, that's going to be tough to move. And yet here we are, 80 aircraft in total. But when I see 299 aircraft on the market with a price tag north of $500,000, there's trouble in sight. The economy must be slowing. People are tightening up their pocketbooks. They don't have the expenditures they once did. And heck, while they're making 5-6%, have it sitting in treasury bills from the federal government, why would you want to go spend money right now? So the good news is the interest rates are doing what they're supposed to do, get Americans to slow down their spending so that prices can come back down. Supply and demand order can return. Back to these graphs, we're just going to mow through these. We'll explain every week, but this is humbly the way that we approach valuation and valuing of aircraft. It comes from many, many years of experience, having bought and sold lots of aircraft and been privy to lots of aircraft buys and sales through friends and business acquaintances, and just lots of data over time. We've been doing this a really long time. So what you see on this first page is aircraft to 500 hours with an inflation adjustment of 110%. And down here would be the used price. Here's what we estimate the new prices were if somebody paid full retail, which we often believe people pay below retail. And so you can get an idea when you're taking a look at an aircraft that was new, $4.5 million in 2014. Well, it should be selling for around 3.2 right now if it had 500 hours on it. But obviously, with this weird market that we're in, a lot of times you'll see a lot higher prices than that. Okay, moving on to the next page. Let's see, we will go to, this is 115% on inflation now, still 500 hours. We'll keep that box up so you can see the next screen. Now we're back to 110% inflation and 1,000 hours, 115% inflation and 1,000 hours. And feel free to pause and come back and click on this point in the video. So if you have an aircraft you're interested in, you can kind of see a general idea of what it was new and where are we coming up with this pricing. It's very transparent. We believe an M2 will depreciate to about 65% of its value at about $150 an hour plus $300,000 a year. That's historically how they depreciated. Once they get to 3,000 hours, it's pretty much a toxic asset. No one wants it. The price drops a lot more. Some things we believe are historically toxic assets in general. No one for a long period of time wanted them. And we think that'll come back over time and they'll be tough to sell again, which allowed for a decent discount, another 10% discount, historically speaking. So we may be a little forward looking on this in our little review and our opinion as we evaluate and kind of react to browsing through controller and looking at airplanes and helicopters, but we think things will get back there. So, and then now we're at 110% in 1,500 hours and 115% inflation and 1,500 hours. And like I said, we're just going to speed through that. These charts are there so you know where we arrive at our prices. Okay, now without further ado, let's take a look at this. Nothing has really changed here on any of these aircraft from last week. So we're not going to talk much about this. We're still looking at 16% premiums, 27%, 28% premiums from where we saw or in the past and where we think it should go to again. So that's obviously too much. Hopefully things are going to come down. This wasn't reduced recently. This was a couple weeks ago. 20 grand on this is nothing. It needs to come down a lot more than that in our opinion. The one thing that we did find out is, this aircraft looked like a decent price to us. And so we put in a little call to some of the sellers that are over there and said, hey, what's the story on this? It's got programs. It seems to be a decent price, at least close within 70 grand of a decent price. Any issues at all, any damage or corrosion history of any kind? And the commentary was, well, of course it has corrosion history. And I'm paraphrasing. So again, this is our opinion of how the conversation went. Don't get me for getting it imperfect. This is my recollection. But they basically say, of course it has corrosion. All Mustangs had corrosion. I said, excuse me? Like, I've flown a lot of Mustangs. I've managed a lot of Mustangs. I've owned some Mustangs. No, I've never seen corrosion on a Mustang. Now, maybe because this is located in the UK, surrounded by water, maybe they're used to seeing corrosion on every single citation. But I got the impression the guy was trying to tell me that, oh, no, all these have corrosion and I shouldn't care about it. Well, of course I care about corrosion. I've never bought an aircraft with corrosion. I've never recommended anybody buy an aircraft with corrosion. I would never recommend anybody buy an aircraft with corrosion. Like, why would you want to deal with that? Why do you want the headache? There's plenty of aircraft out there that do not have corrosion. So I didn't like that story at all. That's the only change. So maybe that aircraft is a deal. Maybe it's not a deal, but I don't like how they're handling what they consider corrosion. I said, maybe it's normal over in Europe. It's not normal in America unless you live in Florida, the south of Texas, you know, or maybe some of the northern parts of California and Oregon and Seattle. But even there, you don't see a whole lot of corrosion coming from the West Coast. It's mostly East Coast. Okay, moving along into the rest of the Mustang inventory. These are a couple of new ones this week. Look at that, 25% premiums and 34.5% premiums. We believe that 2010 is worth about $1.9 million. And we believe that the 2011 is only worth about $1.45 million. At first, you look at it, you think, oh my gosh, a 2011, 1,600 hours, and very cool. This is a decent deal. Wait a minute, it's not on programs. 1,650 hours, that's close to $450, maybe even $500,000 in engine programs that are not paid for because it's not on programs. So somebody's going to have to cough up that bill at some point when these engines hit TBO. And, you know, salesmen love to say things like, well, are you going to keep this thing for 3,000 or 4,000 hours? And everybody's answers is no. And it's like, well, then why do you care about the TBO on the engines? Why? Because everybody else does. Because the next guy and the next guy, at some point, it becomes a factor, which is why any reasonable, logical human being is going to deduct it in a linear manner at about $250 to $300 an hour, depending on what those programs cost nowadays on that aircraft. So this is a $1.45 million aircraft. Now, things tend to be a little more expensive abroad. It's an import for them. So maybe another 100 grand for them. But in America, that's a $1.45 million aircraft, in our opinion. The 2010 over there, man, it has some great things going for it. It's got a beautiful new interior, not gonna lie. It's a 2010, so it's one of the newer Mustangs that are on the market right now. High Sierra Edition, yay. And it's got a Garmin NXI. So for that, you know, we give it a $1.9 million valuation. We would give this a $2 million valuation if it had a new paint job. But from what we gather, it is its original paint job. So, you know, good or not, the paint job's 13 years old. It can't look as great as it did 13 years ago. If we were in the market or one of our customers were in the market for it, it'd probably be time to repaint. That's 100 grand. So I got to knock that off a bit in price. Plus it's 2,300 hours. I mean, it's getting old. It's getting up there. Once it hits 3, no one wants it anymore. So I think this is real rich at $2.375 million. Maybe somebody will pay it. I wouldn't recommend it. All right, moving into the M2 inventory. Nothing new here. Everything's the same from last week. No reduced prices, no movement. We've added some citations, M2s to the market. We still have that one down there on the bottom. And if there's no story to it, no damage, no issues, full programs, it's a decent price, 5.1% premium. They're only a couple $100 grand off the mark. You might be able to bridge that gap. So still this week, that is on the market, but either they're not taking a price like 4.9 million, or maybe people aren't even willing to spend that, which means maybe we're high on the value and maybe we're being too generous. Aircraft aren't moving. Something's got to break. Unchanged again here, 30% premium, 13% premium. That 2019 was originally listed at 4.8. We haven't heard any otherwise, or 4.825. So I assume it's still there. Still overpriced and still not moving because of it. Moving into the CJ3 Plus inventory. unchanged on that 2 team. It's got to be a foreign aircraft, even though it's listed in Virginia. I got to suspect that's why it's not moving. But it's got programs. Yay. When we look at foreign aircraft a lot, we do see corrosion a lot when we do pre-buys and inspections all over the world. And I don't know what it is. No matter where I seem to go, I do find corrosion outside of the US. I don't think people focus or care as much as we do in the US about, flushes and inspections and desalinization rinses. And so it shows. And maybe that's why this aircraft is sitting on the market. I don't know. I'm just totally speculating here because it's under a 10% premium. At 7.3, we believe it's a buy. Now, maybe those folks won't flex and people don't want to pay the premium. But if you can get them down to 7.3, we believe that's a good price. Nothing else has changed, not on the 2015 or the 2014 down on bottom, really high premiums. Did this 2018 sell? I have to believe maybe it did. It was below a 10% premium. Maybe folks got them to come down, $300,000-$400,000 and they took it. And they bridged the gap on that premium. So, that might have moved. We'll see. If it expired, maybe it'll come back on the market. We'll let you know in weeks to come. But for now, she gone. All right, the CJ4 inventory, unchanged. Why would it change? 30% premium, 42.4% premium. No one wanted CJ4s before 2017, 2018, and it looks like we're back to nobody wanting CJ4s again. So these folks are going to have to get used to the prices these aircraft went for 4 or 5 years ago when no one wanted them. And ProLine 21's a tough sell, and only being limited to a pro pilot charter type market because owner pilots don't want ProLine 21s. This is what you got. You got tough aircraft to move. Phenom 300 inventory, and forgive us, we're not going through all the inventory or every jet or helicopter or single engine aircraft we talked about in the beginning of the video. We're more focused on some of the more popular aircraft and used aircraft at that. So we don't really go over brand new aircraft that are so close to their new selling price. Like, what's the point of spending time talking about the valuation on an aircraft that new was $13 million and it's listed for 12.5 right now? There's not a conversation there. So we're more focused here on the used aircraft, and that's why you see the list that you do. If some are missing, it's probably why. So here's what we got in the used Phenom 300 market worth discussing. We did see this one in the middle come down a whopping $150,000. Wow. It's still a 2014, which probably produced in 2013, making it 10 years old. And it has 3,641 hours on it. No one with $8 million wants something so heavily used. So at most, our opinion, you're going to get $6 million out of this aircraft. Maybe you find a crazy person, a techie who got his money really easy and is spending it easily as well. Easy come, easy go, as they say. But anybody who worked hard with blood, sweat, and tears to get to where they're at, to be able to afford one of these, I don't see them paying that price. So that's where we're at. That's the Phenom 300 market. And now we're to the end of the video. We're just going to kind of scroll through the jet market and then the helicopter market. And we're going to kind of let you look at it. This is just to take a snapshot so that you can see in the future the value change in various aircraft. Maybe somebody decides to list a price, or maybe one's missing. We decided to order them differently and moving forward. Before, all the aircraft was kind of mixed up and it was hard to maybe pick out one you're trying to focus on and pay attention to. Well, now we ordered them by the manufacturer. So you will see, hopefully, planes a little better organized together. Maybe we'll even try to do it by model in the future. I don't even know if the sort feature will allow that to happen. But this is just an area where you can stop watching the video here. We thank you for joining us. But if you want to see a snapshot of controller on this day in history, Friday, September 15th, this is what the market looked like for, the cross section of jets we look at, and helicopters and single engine aircraft up through some really cool turboprops. So we're going to sign off here, and we'll let you watch this video, and then we'll see you next week. All right. That's it, everyone. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.